Welcome to episode 17 of the Geek Speak podcast. On today's podcast, this is one of our longest podcasts that we've had. We were a part of the first economic summit in Stockbridge put on by Mayor Anthony Ford and Ariel Shaw for the Henry County Women in Business Summit. And it was the first summit. They had a panel of guests that were there just speaking about economic development, speaking about franchising, speaking about, how to do business with Fortune 500 companies and real estate. It was jam-packed. It was a jam-packed episode because it had so many speakers in it. Now, the audio quality may be just a little bit off because, there were a panel of guests. But I want you to listen, and I want you to really, really take heed to the information that's in here, because if you're an entrepreneur, you're in marketing, or you're an executive and you want to get ahead, this podcast talking about economic development, specifically in Henry County, is one that you need to listen to. So, what you need to do is strap on in. If you're driving, pull over, put it on pause, and listen to this when you have some time. It's about an hour long podcast, so you're going to be in for a treat. So make sure that you listen to this all the way through and take down some notes, because this Women in Business, Stockbridge, Mayor Ford, first Henry County Economic Summit, first Stockbridge Economic Summit was powerful. So let's listen in.
Sure, absolutely. So just speak out loud.
And just FYI, I want to say WebMobileFusion. Can you stand, please? We are doing 5 podcasts.
Nice.
That will be available for download as well. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. And thank you all for being here this evening. And thank you, Ariel and Mayor, for allowing us to be here as well. I'm excited to be a part of this inaugural event. At Coca-Cola, we believe in supplier diversity. And many of you may ask, well, what is that all about? At the end of the day, we want to ensure that who we do business with mirrors our consumers. So yes, we have contracts and global agreements with many large companies around the world. But what's most important for us is to also extend the opportunity to small businesses in the communities in which we do business. So in my role in particular, I support a number of procurement teams within the company to ensure that whenever they go out to bid for various products or services that we may need globally, that small businesses are a part of that RFP process. And so I'm an advocate for small businesses. I ensure that they are included in the process, and that if in fact they do win that business with Coca-Cola, that we try to help them sustain that business with Coca-Cola. So we serve as their partner throughout their journey in the Coca-Cola supply chain. So it's pretty exciting work. And I've been doing it now for many years, and it's really exciting to see small businesses truly grow with a company like Coca-Cola, because when you think about it, you have to have the capacity and the capability to do the work that we need. And you have to be ready at any point to make changes as our business changes. So in our group, we are there to support those small businesses that are awarded that business within Coca-Cola's supply chain.
That's good. Thank you. If you can follow that, would you share some insight on Coca-Cola Company's commitment to supplier diversity?
Absolutely. So our commitment goes back many years. It was actually formalized in 2001 as a result of some unfortunate things that were happening at the time with Coca-Cola. So we decided to make a commitment to spend $800 million with diverse businesses over the course of 5 years. We surpassed that by doing over $1 billion at that time, and currently we are exceeding about $800 million annually, which is a record for us because we intentionally seek to do business with small businesses in every potential procurement opportunity that we have around the globe. So some other additional things that we particularly try to focus on is development of those small businesses. Because many times small businesses are not ready to do business with Coca-Cola. And the last thing we want to do is put you out of business, because Coca-Cola will still be around. So what we try to do is position you to come to the table when there is the opportunity available to compete for business and truly be in a position to be ready to do the work and to have the funding in your bank that you could actually do the work without having to get a check within 30 days. Because now our payment terms are about 120 days. Most companies aren't going to that. So as small businesses, in my group, we make sure you're educated through partners such as the Greater Women's Business Council, through the Georgia Minority Supplier Development Council, and other advocacy groups around the city and also in the nation. We partner with them to extend the business knowledge that you need from a corporate perspective on how to truly do business with a global company like Coca-Cola. Yes, exactly.
Thank you. This next question is for James Ashton. James is a little under the weather, so I'm going to get back down. So, see you James, what is your role with the city and how can you help increase and revitalize economic development in this time?
Thank you. I'm the auditor of the anti-fight that someone fevers and city jittery because I got a vertical so I apologize. My role here in the last 6 months has been to tell the story about Stockbridge and our region. You know, what people don't know about Stockbridge is what a great opportunity lies there. So really what I do every day is I get up, I work with businesses, I work with elected officials, I'm constantly going to meetings, I'm going to sell the city. I've got some cards I want to hand out here in the back. Kind of tell the city story, kind of who we are, the city, and you know, my job is to be that voice and work with our elected officials, like Mayor Ford, Councilor Robinson, myself, to come in the room, and our whole body and staff. You know, I took this job after 7 years of working with 130 corporate governments in the United States because I really felt that there's so much opportunity here, and when the mayor and Councilman Robinson and others approached me and were giving me the opportunity, I said, how can I say no to this? And what a great opportunity to come to the Stockbridge and really sell the city. So I'm long-winded to say every day I'm getting up, I'm going around the region. We just got back from a week-long conference in Las Vegas called ICSC, where we handed over 300 cards out, you know, to Stockbridge. People were saying, wow, we have no idea, we're very interested in doing business there. So I really do think that my job is to help sell our elected officials take the ideas and initiatives they have and run with those. So long-winded answer, I'm sure.
Thank you. All right, our next question is for Sylvia Booker. Can you please tell us how you were able to get the title, The Wealth Builder?
I know, I was like looking at like alternative finance and expert, and I'm like, wealth builder. So, you know, that's a very good question. The answer to that is I was given a name that I had to kind of live up to it. A few years ago, I got my assignment, my purpose from God. And when you get that, you know it's something bigger than yourself, right? And so he said that I was going to change the way that people build wealth for generations and generations to come. And I remember the exact corner I was sitting in when I received that download, and I was like, how am I going to do that? Like, that's crazy, right? And so as I started thinking about all of these titles, it was wealth expert, it was this, it was that, and he said, you're the wealth builder. You're not only building your wealth, but you're to help other people build their wealth. And so as I continued to walk into those shoes, I understood that the way that I build my wealth is through real estate investing in businesses, entrepreneurship. And so in that, I get to share through books and stories and my information of how other people can do that for themselves for generations and generations to come.
What do you think the biggest challenges that women entrepreneurs are facing?
I think one of the biggest challenges, and so I've been an entrepreneur for 20 years. My first entrepreneurial venture was an Allstate insurance agency where I consider it, more from a franchise model where you go in and everything's kind of spelled out. I was still at the time the youngest Allstate agent at 24 to have my own agency, and so it was a incredible shoes to walk in. And so a person who's always been in insurance and real estate, and not from a real estate from a sales perspective, but from a development and investment perspective, I never saw people that looked like me in rooms. And so as I would go in rooms, I began to realize it was important for me to be in those rooms, even though I was very uncomfortable in rooms where I didn't see people like me. So as a woman, it was, I look at that now and I think about what if I stopped going in those rooms? And so many women that I see come, behind me, and someone said to me, "You're a pioneer. You pioneered, women being able to invest in real estate." I'm like, really? I'm not old enough to be a pioneer. But it was just just showing up. And so I think one of the biggest challenges is for us to show up and know how important that is and how it's important for us, but we never know who else and what else that is doing to keep moving through that.
Can you tell us a little bit about alternative finance and how this thing came about?
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Shaw and Mayor Ford, for first allowing for me to be here. And thank you, audience, for coming. Alternative finance, I created this company back in 2010. I was an older returning MBA student, and I created it while I was back in B school down at the University of Phoenix in Columbus at the time. And I called it alternative finance because the traditional finance during that time period was still pretty much non-existent in many areas. It was non-existent pretty much in many of the minority communities. It was pretty much non-existent. I was living down there in Columbus for about a year and a half while I was in school. It was pretty much non-existent there in Columbus. And I said, well, everybody was saying, well, this is not traditional finance when I started talking to my funding sources and thinking about whether or not to get involved in this industry. They says, it's an alternative to what the traditional stuff is. I said, okay, I'm just going to call it alternative finance. And the name stuck, and now the sad thing is that many of the things we call alternative finance in 2010, 2011 when I was doing this are now becoming mainstream and is what is considered after, I guess, the last 8, 9 years of being very viable methods of financing companies when the bank says no. It's now become alternative. And they're buying, they're in partnership with banks. They're beginning to loan out much more money in the small business sector than banks are. So now, I'm wondering whether or not to make a change because it's not alternative finance anymore. It has became the mainstream. We are loaning out billions and billions of dollars in our industry, in that market sector, more money than small businesses ever seen before.
And if you can, what are how do the small businesses get loans from you?
Well, being that we represent hundreds of different funding sources, what we do is facilitate and arrange the loan and also package it for the client and take away the mystique out of it. We've got several different sectors, but the sector I think many of our business owners are concerned about is what we call working capital. That's the money that's necessary for a business to survive on a daily basis, the money that they spend as far as on payroll, on advertising, on marketing, and some of the other areas which keeps the business moving. And the working capital can come in both either credit-based, where it's based off your credit. You've got a 650 to 680 score. We can get term loans for startups, and then also business lines of credit, right around a 700 score. But then what has become the traditional way now of getting capital is through what we call merchant cash advances. You know, some people have some stories that they'll tell about it, but you know, they misuse the money. You know, I've seen people initially, you loan them $50,000, they know it's a short-term 12 to 18-month loan, and you take half of it and buy furniture with it. Well, that can provide a problem. But with that type of loan, we can usually loan money in 72 hours from approval, and it usually takes 24 to 36 to get an approval. It's based off revenues. It can be expensive money in that sector, but it is able, even we're able to loan to people with a 475 who say, I got to have the money because the oven went out and I ain't got no, I can't, and I got a pizza shop and I ain't got no way else to get the money. And then I have loan money with people who got 825 said, look, I see this business is going out of business. He's going to sell me all his assets. If I don't buy them, as the other small business in town, one of these big guys is going to buy those assets, and then they're going to try to put me out of business. He said, I need $150,000, $200,000 like in 3 days, Mr. Ford. That's the speed of alternative finance. Whereas many of my traditional lenders, for $150,000 request, you know, could take 45, 60, 75 days to get that money. So that particular sector is the sector that is able to get capital quickly into the hands of business owners. We say we move at the speed of business, not at the speed of the bank.
That's good.
Just as a quick question, so you are also a franchise. What is your role with franchise?
Our biggest role with franchise is to educate the consumer or possible franchise candidate. Number one, what is franchise? What does it entail buying a franchise? I had been around business. I had worked for Bell South for 10 years. I'd been an NAACP president. I'd been involved with loaning a lot of money out for building owners and single-family homeowners. But I still, it never came to me, well, how do you own a franchise? Until one day I'm just walking, I'm saying, dog, we're going to this Crystal, and then I see some of them say corporate store, and, I do serve. Crystal's got pretty good breakfast sometimes. And some of them say franchise. I mean, saying local owner. I said, so you can own one of these. And that's when I began to get involved into the franchise industry. And a lot of people don't know that you can own a franchise. You can own a Crystal. You can own a Applebee's. You can own an IHOP. And it's not as hard as people would think it would be. It does take somewhat good credit, unless you got a couple $100,000 laying around and just want to buy cash. But for the most part, the franchise ownership involves even if you bought a Golden Corral, the ability to just say I own a Golden Corral, as far as the name, is only going to cost you $50,000, $60,000. It's the build out that costs people the money, and that's the same price, or maybe a little bit more. Just say, for instance, some of the mom and pop startups that you see in the community, their build out costs are going to be pretty close to, if it was this chicken restaurant, it's going to be pretty much the same build out cost for a KFC as it is for a nice mom and pop fried chicken spot. The difference is the $50,000 or $60,000 you pay for the franchise. But by the mere fact that you got something that's named KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, if somebody just passing down the road, if they want chicken, they're going to stop there. But if you call Joe's Fried Chicken, they're going to look and wonder, who is Joe? Should I stop? Is it safe? Especially if you're talking about picking up people just coming down whatever major thoroughfare it might be. And then if you're inside of a neighborhood-like concept, they'll never even see you. So our job is to educate those individuals on the mystique of, yes, you can own a franchise. It's easier than you think, and for us to hold their hand through the process on finding what is the right franchise concept, because franchises are not just restaurants. I think I put a flyer in everybody's booklet that will indicate some of the various industries, but also there are various industries, and also there are various ways to finance those. So that's our role, to help out in that capacity.
Thank you, Mr. Mr. Touchton. What type of incentive packages does the city have now or in the works to attract businesses, and what type of businesses?
So we have a few incentives generally abatements from the city side. We can work with the county and the school board to do abatements on that. But the city can help reduce permitting fees. We can help do faster processing of your permit when you're doing your plans. You know, this is really our incentive right now. We're just helping you locate. We're sitting with an $18 million reserve right now. So we have a little money to spend. And so for us, the incentive is finding the right deal to spend the money on, processing your permits much faster, and really, you know, that down to planning and zoning, really making sure we work with you, and we have a great team, a great community operator, a great business license department, so we can turn these things around pretty quickly. And I think the folks that have gotten a permit recently in this city will tell you we've done a great job just assuming all operations. So really our incentives are lying in just being able to work with you, help the process. We're a one-stop shop in the city. So be able to call me and say, hey, where's the land? What can we buy? What can we do? What do you have for sale right now? How can we really get that done? So we are working on some other, I want to say that we're working on some, bring some to council. We can look at some approval, like a tax allocation district, a CID, and things of that nature.
Thank you. This question is actually for me and for Mayor, can you tell the audience a little bit about what type of development is coming if you want to understand the amphitheater, what that will look like?
All right, well, what I'd like to do is to let you know that Stockbridge is kind of rough, and we're going to shine this thing up and make it bright and shine the entire Atlanta metro area and bring folks down to the South Metro area, period. As you well know, Stockbridge is pretty closely connected to Highway 75 and 675, which means you can utilize that thoroughfare to get anywhere really in the Atlanta metro area pretty easy. Yes, still has some traffic here, and that's true, you know, but yet we're strategically located between these two highways. And one of the things I will tell you that we in council is working with staff on is working towards getting what we call waiver signs to direct folks off those thoroughfares into our downtown area where we are right now. So, you mentioned about the amphitheater. Absolutely, the amphitheater is we're going to break ground this summer. It's right next to City Hall, and we recently purchased 7.5 acres of land to help expand this particular amphitheater, have it built and be occupied. We're looking at businesses and living condos, things like that nature. We're looking quarters to be right here in the downtown area as well. And the amphitheater is going to be set like an anchor to redevelop the downtown area, and a sense for folks that are locally here, come on down there, and also folks for tourism. That's why I talk about the highway system and having signs and directions down this area. When you talk about economic development in this particular area, we're looking, of course, for small businesses primarily that would be that can be featured down in our downtown area as well. Because once you have an anchor like an amphitheater, and you have maybe 3,000 people come to a concert, because this capacity is 3,200. And typically, in the last couple of years, we've had more than 2,000 folks or so come to our concert. And matter of fact, on that note, actually this coming Saturday, we have our first council series, and it's going to be right across from City Hall. And I would imagine there'll be at least 2,000, maybe 2,500 folks that will be there for that. Well, this is the last summer, in a sense, I would say, to be on the greenery, because next summer, or you'll be in actually an amphitheater to be completed. And maybe you've heard it a little bit, and I can't say this. I want you to know that 2020, besides it being a U.S. Census, is also the centennial for Stockbridge itself. And the reason why I got to emphasize that is that the staff is working on, in a sense, activities. We have activities almost every month anyway, what we do. But we want to enhance those, and we want to make sure that you understand that Stockbridge is here, a lot of things happen in Stockbridge, and you can come down and visit it and have a good time. Well, the amphitheater for Centennial is going to be a fantastic bright star that's going to bring you to the area, in a sense. So, but it's also going to be part of the thing that help us redevelop our downtown area for small businesses, whether they're women-owned businesses, which my wife is even a business owner herself, or in a sense for businesses for veterans and or other minorities. And we're very diverse, so we want to be inclusive of everybody. So, and also, besides that kind of development aspect in the downtown area, and also we have what's called Jordan South, which is Highway 75 and Jordan Road, the most southern part of Stockbridge. And we're establishing working with design guidelines, finalizing those guidelines without the particular developer. Now, you gotta realize you don't own the land, it's privately owned, and they have their own developer, but it is inside the city limits of Stockbridge, so otherwise the guidelines for which they can build businesses, housing units, condos, single-family homes, the commercial businesses, they have to abide by the guidelines which we established. And we're working through the process right now to finalize that with the staff and with the developer themselves. So we're very proud. And actually, it'll also be set up in a sense where that small businesses or even major organizations, businesses, chains would be more attracted to I would think more attracted to the Georgia South aspect, because it's that 75 and Georgia Road, whereas that's a little more difficult in the sense that we're going to make it easy as possible to get down here and have a thriving downtown. We're just on the verge of really striking the ridge, showing the gold, right, the diamond up. You ladies like diamonds, right? It's going to be a diamond in Stockbridge, right? I was born in April's stones and diamonds, so hey, hopefully, I'm glad you get that. Hopefully that helps. I'm asking some questions. Okay. Yes, go ahead. Well, let's see, the process in the sense of starting a new ministry in this aspect is looking for, as a, do it as like for a contractor.
Vendors, contractors.
Well, we have a supplier diversity program. We just signed, actually I just signed, Council approved, and I just signed last year. We're trying to open up that aspect in the sense to have more diversity in reference to contracts, so contractors for business that we're doing in the city itself. And that's really handled by our community director, which is also who has our assistant city manager, which James does work for them. So I don't know if you want to ask anything further, James, or should I try to handle this?
Well, I think you answered it very clear. I think go through the procurement officer and obviously go through Camilla.
Okay.
One second.
Sorry.
Can you put the mic a little bit closer?
Yes, I think you answered it. Going over our procurement officer, going through our folks, Aaron, just on the process. I know that you work with a very easy process online as well. So it's very simple. I think they make a really good job answering that. So it's hard to find a great answer.
Okay, thank you. Yvonne? Yes. Can you tell us a little bit about the 5x20 program and Coca-Cola's commitment to women's entrepreneurs?
Sure. So in 2010, 2011, we made a global commitment to empower 5 million women entrepreneurs by the year 2020. Well, that's next year. And so how are we doing? Thus far, as of December 31st, 2018, we've empowered 3.2 million. How have we done that? We partnered with a number of governments, NGOs, and other nonprofit organizations to offer enabling activities such as business skills training, access to capital and financing, and also mentoring and peer networking. Because what we found is that many women entrepreneurs face challenges in those areas. So we, Coca-Cola, we produce products, we produce design. We are not a training company. We don't owe money. We do have mentoring through supplier diversity, but that's not the number one thing that we do. So we felt the need to partner with a number of organizations around the world to help us in this effort. And we're very excited about what we've done thus far. We are working with those organizations now, and one of them in particular is the Women's Business Enterprise National Council, based in DC. It's known as WeBank. WeBank is the nation's #1 certifying organization for women-owned businesses, whether you're a minority or not. And many corporations are corporate members of this organization. Coca-Cola is one of the non-members. We support this organization annually through all of the programs, business development opportunities that they offer, because we do business with certified women-owned businesses. What we found in the past is that you have businesses that say they're women-owned, but they're really managed, operated,
Georgia Minority Development Council. They are the affiliate that's here in Atlanta that rolls up to the national organization. They're helping pull this major conference together. There are business opportunities because we will be needing things to make this conference successful. Transportation, a number of different opportunities to come in. Marketing services. So it's very important, if you're not already aware, of the Georgia Minority Development Council, to please reach out to that organization. I think their website address is gsdc.org. Coca-Cola is a co-chair for this conference, along with other companies that are based here in Atlanta, Delta, UPS, Georgia Power is playing a very active role, and a few others. So, 5 by 20, we are connected through these organizations and many others across the world, around the world, across the globe.
Thank you. Can you describe supplier diversity's next steps and how diverse suppliers can help Coca-Cola reach their short and long-term goals for supplier diversity and inclusion?
Absolutely. So if you are interested in doing this with Coca-Cola, it's pretty easy. Just Google Coca-Cola Supplier Diversity. There is an online registration process that's very easy. Try to make the process extremely simple. And the most important thing for us is that you are certified as a woman or minority or LGBTQA or service-disabled veteran. All the organizations that we accept certifications from are listed on the website. So that's the first step, registering your business, uploading your certification. The second step would be to just simply follow where we are throughout the nation at various trade shows and business fairs. We bring our procurement teams to these fairs because we don't publicize our procurement opportunities. The best opportunity for you is to network, to get to understand how those opportunities become available through the procurement team, the buyers. I don't buy anything, but I advocate for you, small businesses, because I'm a part of those procurement teams internally. So we list all of the calendar events, all the business fairs, the trade shows, where we are present along with those individuals who do purchase on behalf of the Coca-Cola Company. That is the best opportunity to know what's happening. I also encourage you to just pay more attention to the Coca-Cola Company's global website. We often put articles out there about some of the challenges that we're facing. We are now moving finally into digitization globally throughout our company. Things like cybersecurity are very important to us right now. So where you are able to find those potential gaps and opportunities where you can offer your products or services, please don't hesitate to contact us. Our information is on the website. In fact, you can actually email supplierdiversity@coca-cola.com to reach me, to reach others on our team.
Thank you. So I don't know if you guys are going to just tell me where that information was. But you basically look for the problems so you can offer the solutions to Coca-Cola. And we are, as consultants, we're service-disabled, veteran-owned business as well. And I'm glad you mentioned the other certifications. And that's with the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs. So thank you. Sonia, tell us about the vault.
Yes, I would love to. So the vault is a physical structure, and about 15 months ago, we acquired our first vault. We acquired our first vault. So it all started kind of, accidental, and then as the vision started unfolding, we kind of kept going with it. And so, in short, the vaults are old bank buildings that we use to do programming out of them in the arts, entrepreneurship, wealth, and wellness. So these vaults are designed to really help to revitalize urban communities or communities that are going through revitalization, which is a lot of them. So the vault kind of anchors these areas And then around them, as the people are looking for resources for home ownership, for financial literacy, for learning about wellness, we do yoga, Pilates, nutrition classes going on now at our Vault East Point as we're sitting here. And so we have all this great programming that comes out of it to fit whatever community needs. Our first flagship location is in downtown Atlanta on Peachtree Street. So that vault really services more of the corporate clientele, and that's where we run our Vault Foundation out of. And so we really focus on all of those pillars, and just since I've been here tonight, we have opened 2 more vaults. Looks like a vault's coming in Conyers. Shout out to Vault Conyers, and then of course Vault Stockbridge. And so I do encourage you to go and get more information at wearethevault.com, wearethevault.com, to see how you can get involved and how we can use these vaults to really change our communities as kind of that flagship place where everything, all of the programming, we're unlocking resources out of the vaults.
Thank you. And if you can follow that up, how has your role helped minimize challenges to entrepreneurs?
Oh, that's a great question. And you know, even tonight, the skirt that I'm wearing is from one of our entrepreneurs, part of the vault, because we really focus on entrepreneurship in terms of if you have a business idea, you need funding, you need information, the things that you need, we really help you to build your business and then allow you a place to showcase your art, your business, from pop-ups and different things like that. And so we're really concerned about how to give those platforms to the businesses and then provide the information. For me, it was really a labor of love of taking real estate and repurposing it into something that could really make a community better, and that community is however we, define it. And as we start thinking about like the artist community, I love the arts, but I hate that there are so many starving artists. And just like when I look at the amount of talent that artists have, what's missing is they don't understand that they're running a business. And so we bring those artists in and really give them wall space, which is the first part of the answer, but then they need to have the financial information. They need to be structured as a business, because all of this leads back to our home ownership deficits and our ability to own land and own really successful businesses. I heard Sylvester say the word credit like 5 times in his, talking about his business in terms of there's a big difference of what you get at a 475 versus that 825 that you got done in 3 days, And so credit is a big piece of what we talk about just from a wealth building perspective. And, a lot of it is just really simple in terms of building wealth, $1, one decision at a time. We think that it goes to we need a lot of money, to be wealthy, and we just need the right mindset, to do that. So we really focus on the mindset, on credit, on getting out of debt. All those things make it really hard for you to go to the next level in your personal life, in your business. And so that's what it's really about.
So you offer information and you offer funding as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So Ariel had the opportunity to come into one of our women wealth building celebrations, and so I started the celebration about 3 years ago, where I say women celebrate everything else, but we don't celebrate building wealth. And so March is Women's History Month, so I always take that month to just recognize women who are, I bought a house this year, yay! I started my business. I built another stream of income. I got out of debt. So we like celebrate those kind of things because it really took a lot of discipline, to do it. And so we provide this place where people need more, sometimes they need more information than money. Everybody thinks they need money when they're building their business. And sometimes it's about the mentorship, the information, access. And so, we do fund a lot of the businesses, help them to be more profitable. And I invest personally in a lot of businesses, as well, to really help them grow. Yay.
Wonderful.
Yay.
I have one more question for you, Sonia. You're really passionate about real estate investing. Can you tell me why?
Yeah. So when I was like 12 years old, I grew up in Jackson, Mississippi, and I spent a lot of time with my grandparents because my sister and I were like these latchkey kids coming from a single parent household. So we spent a lot of time in our grandparents' house who had a farm. And I would spend time there in the summers. I would always go and help my grandfather do what's called peddling in the South. And so that's when you would take everything you grew, your produce, your okra, your collard greens, black eyed peas, and you take them into the city and you sell them. And so I was really, just trying to hang out with my granddad, but I didn't realize that, I was enjoying creating money. And so we own tons of land in Mississippi even now. And my grandfather, when I was 12 years old, he said to me, "He who owns the land calls the shots." And I thought, of course I'm 12, but, it was like I wanted to be a shot caller, but it took me a while to catch up to what that really meant, And as I started my career, going to college, getting an MBA, getting a job, all the stuff you think you're supposed to do, my grandfather was always saying, that's not what you're supposed to do. You're an entrepreneur. And he really kind of just kept in my ear and challenged me that even though I was living in Atlanta, that I had to buy property. And I was telling him that this was the big city, that, this was not Mississippi. You just don't come in Atlanta buying property. And he said, you have to buy property, you have to invest, you have to own land. And so that was something that as I, continued my development and I would buy property myself, people would start coming to me saying, how are you doing this? And I thought everybody had a grandfather telling them to buy land, And so that's what, I would do these little seminars in my house on like Wednesday night, just having people in my living room showing them how to buy real estate, invest in real estate, which is how books and stuff got birthed out of it. Because I said, if I write a book, I can get all these people at my house. And so, but yeah, that didn't work,
Thank you. I want to ask if you could take somewhere forward and things not feel well. What is the trajectory of growth for the city of Stockbridge in the next 5 to 10 years? We are the largest city in Henry County. Okay.
We're going to have to
So right now, they say 31,000, we're expecting in there, talking about 35,000. The next census, the Atlanta region is expected to grow to 5 million people by 2040. We're going to see a lot of that growth right now in the road is happening on the south side. I think Stockbridge will see a lot more of that growth in other areas. Right now, the two cities, in my opinion, are doing the best and growing fastest because they're the Women's College Park in East Point. Our former Americans Point related groundwork right there. If you go look at their downtowns, they're growing. We're going to grow the south side, and the north is really growing up a lot. You see Met grow, you see Cobb grow. There's not a lot more room to grow on the north side. So for us, we're looking at hopefully in the next 10 years, we are 50,000 people. We're at 35,000. Remember, we were 21,000 10 years ago, 22,000 10 years ago. So you look how big and how Stockbridge has grown in 10 years. It's going to be huge.
I want to add something else. here for this event. And they worked with us and citizens in reference to working on a comprehensive plan, what we want to look like 10, 20, 30 years out. And we completed all this several months or so ago. And that is the guide that we're going to use as we continue to grow here in Stockbridge, where we want the residential to go, where we want commercial to go, how we want to work with in reference to the overall structure of transportation within our city limits in this nation, how we want to all expand on this. And I will emphasize the fact what James said is that we're going to grow. The county's growing, projected to grow. We're going to continue to be the largest city, I would say, since we did not split last year. And in this aspect, and we're going to move up the chain in reference to the smaller or mid-sized city here in Georgia. And we're going to continue to be a very diverse community. That's why Economic Development Conference is something here. That's why women in business here in Henry County is very important in reference to women, in reference to, once again, I mentioned before about diversity and other minorities, because we are very much diverse. And that's what we want to stand on, and it's going to continue to grow. Nothing but a bright future. So I just want to add that to James' comments in this aspect. Okay, thank you.
Will the report be on the website?
The report is, the comprehensive plan is, I'm sorry, it is on the website. Do I need to say in the mic there?
No, I was just making my notes.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Sylvester, can you tell the audience how they can become a franchise owner?
Well, as I indicated, franchise ownership is much easier than people realize. Most franchises are bought in one of three ways. The first way is that people are able to qualify for an SBA loan. Well, nowadays SBA loans are much easier to qualify for than they've ever been before. Yeah, they still take 60 to 90 days, but they're much easier to qualify. We use some very lenient SBA underwriters as far as the quality of the underwriting will allow for some deals to get through that from some of the bigger and larger banks wouldn't go through. You're talking about 10 to 15% down. So that means, for instance, as I think I used the example of a KSC or something of that nature, just say a $200,000 build out along with, say, $150,000 build out, $50,000 franchise fee. You're talking about $200,000 is the total cost for that franchise. You're talking about anywhere out of pocket $20,000 to $30,000, which is not a whole lot of money because a brother and sister team can go into business, two friends can go into business, or you can have $30,000. Just a lot of people got in today's economy got $30,000 laying around. Or you can have someone to invest that on your behalf. The next way is to be able to take your 401k, either use it for the down payment or for the entire purchase, and be able to buy the franchise. Because then some of the franchises do not require that you have a brick and mortar location. You have a lot of home-based professional services franchise that might cost $35,000 to $50,000 total and give you some working capital. Well, a $50,000 SBA loan, which is probably the smallest you're going to see, you might put $5,000 of your own money. There's some personal loans they'll go out to $50,000. Prosper and some of those places like that will give that to you. And then the third way, you have cash. But it's much easier than people think. Franchises are much more lenient today than they were 10, 15 years ago about allowing people to come in, even people for certain franchises who have had problems in the past through their resumes. We call it second chance opportunities, or being given second chance opportunities by franchises, as long as it's not related to anything that got them in their situation initially.
Thank you. So I just want to give the panelists a hand.
Thank you for coming down.
Allow the panelists to share a few words. We'll actually start with James.
So just open it and share. I'll tell you, Stockbridge is growing. y'all been to Woodstock in the last year or two? I've seen Woodstock. Go to Woodstock, look at Woodstock. We were at Woodstock 20 years ago. We had a railroad track downtown. There was no amphitheater. There was no downtown. This is not doing a thing. They built an amphitheater. They went out to recruit. Now you're seeing $1 million townhomes downtown Woodstock and young professionals and a good diverse mixture there. And you know, one thing about Stockbridge, I tell people, it has so much opportunity. It has a lot of challenges. You know, we need transportation out there. You know, small business owners. I'm speaking as James Touchton now, but I advocate and say, you guys get out there and tell your local kind of leaders, we need transit. We need to get people here. We need a generation to kind of, people like me, that's young, one of these days will ever get married and have kids, but want to get married and have kids, and want that opportunity. You know, we're not competing, especially this, we're not competing against Atlanta. We're competing against Duluth, Lawrence, Suwanee, areas like that. Areas like that. We're competing against other cities that have built their downtown. The business understand we need a good mixture of housing, multi-family, mixed use, single family, transportation, we need them there. I didn't stop, Mayor, I've talked several times. That amphitheater to put us on the map, but that's going to be the first catalyst to really bring us, you know, I think once that happens, you're going to see downtown develop, you're going to see 138 develop. Believe me, I'm going to be like a Starbucks at 138. I don't know if we get to live on Starbucks at 138. So I made that my mission with the Starbucks, and I think I get that down to take the next year off. Well, but I will say this, if y'all invest here, tell the story, get out there and tell it. You know, a lot of folks don't know about Stockbridge. Then, we might as well be in Macon. That's the them. I tell them wrong, going to Stockbridge. They're like, oh, how close is that to Macon? We are 22 miles from Macon. Woodstock is 27 miles. I say that to say, when I was in college, I never got to Woodstock, I never went up there, I had no reason. I didn't go to Woodstock the first time in 2012 when I graduated my bachelor's in 09. Now I go to Woodstock all the time from there. Doesn't seem that far away. Back in the day, so I thought this was a lot of it. So I told you, Stockbridge, you give us 5 years, and I think with the mayor and our city manager leadership and our great staff, it's going to be a whole different ballgame. And I think just y'all getting involved with me, my email is very easy. It's on the city website, James Touchton. Stockbridge.ca.gov, and I want to we're going to hear from you. I'm going to send a letter out to all of y'all. I want to work with you all. You know, one thing I asked our big business, the people in the hospital, who's worked with you to drive the housing? What is your biggest challenge? They said, salaries. We have a hard time recruiting nurses and young professionals because they don't want to live down here because they don't have anything to do. So I said, well, are y'all driving the conversation with the county and the city? And they said, no. I said, well, you get involved, show up to meetings, tell them, this is what we need. We want to see this type of housing. We need, in order to keep our business going, we recruit, we need these things. I would encourage y'all to get involved. Me, look at transit, continue to tell your elected officials we need some sort of transportation to solve that problem. And I really do believe the next, like I said, 5 years, Stockbridge is going to be, we're going to be all over the news. We're going to be, I go to these conferences and you hear about other cities. Give me 5 years of Stockbridge. I think with our leadership, with you all working, of course, with Ariel and our folks here. I'm excited. There's a reason I come to work every day. I come here excited because I see so much opportunity. So I didn't even go along with you, but I really hope that y'all get involved and let me know how I can help you. It's not just our big business, but it is our small businesses that are really important, and that's obviously I think what makes this region grow. So with that.
Sure. No problem. I relocated to Georgia from Houston in 2004. The relocation company tried their best to start relocating to Coca-Cola. They tried their best to get me to where they come. It was always going to Atlanta, go to Alpharetta, go to Murrah, go, up north. I said, well, what's down south? What's down south? And I heard the traffic was always just horrendous up north. So the agent brought us down to Stockbridge. Again, I'm originally from Jackson, Mississippi. I love small towns. I have no issue with small towns. Loved Houston, it was great, but we could do well in small towns. I was attracted to Stockbridge. Long story short, we still live in Stockbridge. We had opportunities to relocate to other parts of Atlanta. That was not in our goals. We intend to stay here. We do that for a reason because we feel that there is a huge potential for growth. So I encourage you there to continue to have events like this. There are many majority of companies working out of Henry County. Here in Henry County. There's one woman on this in particular, Bennett, multi-million-dollar company right here in Henry County that many people don't even know about. There are a number of major corporations here in Henry County. May not be their headquarters, they may have affiliate locations, but there is huge potential for growth. And I encourage you to continue to have events like this, where you can attract the attention of these major corporations. Because initially, I was wondering, what am I going to talk about? I'm going to go, cool, we can have facilities here in County. That could change. That could change with this growth that we are predicting in the very near future. So I encourage you to continue this great work because we will continue to be a part of it. So thank you.
Yes, and Mayor Ford, thank you very much again for having this in conjunction with Ms. Shaw. Stockbridge is a great location right off I-75. Got a lot of great assets that they can leverage. With the amphitheater, just like we've seen in the city of Jonesboro, that has started drawing a lot of small business growth into the city of Jonesboro. It's going to do the same thing for Mayor Ford. And I think with Stockbridge, you have good housing. A lot of great housing is here. You don't have dilapidated housing. You don't have to really worry about that. As I was sharing with him, the only thing that we saw was that Henry County didn't get any of those opportunity zones. And I think Mayor Ford is in position along, I think his commissioner and his Mayor and Councilman Lady, Ms. Neat Robinson, they bring that opportunity zone here into the Stockbridge area. It's really going to allow for it to draw a lot of the investment that will take it to the next level. Stockbridge being the largest city in Henry County also has they've got the Jodico Road project. You should have heard Mayor Ford at the Council on Quality Growth talk about all the great projects that are coming. And the thing is, from my perspective as a private sector business person who looks at the region, Stockbridge is in very good shape. We'd love for you to buy some of our franchises to become business owners there, but if you just want to start a business, this is a great town to be able to do it in. And you've got some great demographics in terms of disposable income. So you've got the people here who are looking for places to spend their money. So give Stockbridge a second look if you have not about your business. And when you start seeing some of those great developments come down, like that Jodico Road project, ought to be a very good and great project. Go by, spend your money, because stores and companies, they vote with one thing. They look at one thing: who is spending money when they come into their community. That makes the decision whether or not they stay or start looking for someplace else to go, probably about a year, 2 years after they're in. And you've seen some communities where people did not spend their money in their community, and now their community is void of a lot of the retail that used to be there.
Just a second. So a lot of people are trying to figure out what opportunity zones are. I just encourage you to look that up. It came out of the White House. It's an initiative that will allow you to purchase real estate or land and be able to keep it tax land. So just take a second and look that up. We can't talk about that right now. All right, Ms. Logan.
He who owns the land calls the shots. Okay, so I encourage you, as you're sitting here and you're having access to comprehensive planning and you're hearing from city officials such as the mayor in terms of what's happening and what's coming. Don't wait for it to come and decide I need to invest in Stockbridge or in Henry County. And that's what happens so many times. When you invest, you're investing in what you don't see, not in what you see. Anybody could make an investment in what they see, And so always keep that in mind, that that's what makes a good investment, that you're on the turning point of something great happening, and you're sitting here at a point in time to be able to be on the front lines of that. And so I just encourage you not to sit on that information. That's real important. Because a lot of times we will say, we weren't in the room, we didn't know that was happening. When did that get decided? And it's right there on the website, and you heard it from, right from the sources. And so that's real important, to invest in the city. One of the things that I was, completely discombobulated around was the idea of property taxes. The idea around right now, the city of Stockbridge don't have property taxes right now, because as the city's developing, everybody's going to probably want to do other things, but it's good to make sure that you're in on those conversations to say, we want some properties to see more growth. And so I just think it's a very, as I sit here and, been very blessed and thankful to be invited here this evening by Mayor Ford and Ariel Shaw. I'm just excited around the opportunity and where I get to see and be a part of the city going. So thank you very much.
Let me start by just letting you know that, yes, we'll do the economic summit again. We'll try to make this annual event. This aspect, but let me also tell you a little story here. And Ariel mentioned earlier, I'm a retired Army officer. So mine, take a few minutes to listen to this. In 2004, I was sitting in Fort Lewis, Washington, state of Washington, and I get orders to transfer me to Fort McPherson, Georgia. So my wife and I get online and look at the area where we want to move to, what's the best city in the Sanford school system and what's going on. And so I happen to have a younger sister that lives in Roswell, or Fulton County. So we initially started there and looking around there, and they live in a beautiful neighborhood and a beautiful home. But we started thinking about it, we thought about some women, north Atlanta area, but I got to go all the way up to East Point, get to Fort McPherson. You see, so I'm like, I don't know the traffic lights, I'm not really being here to study all that. So we go on, check out things further, and we landed, of course, in Henry County, talk about the school system great and good, and this aspect, so that's great. And then we find out there's a lot of new home construction going on in 2004, the fastest growing counties in the nation. Okay, fine, let's do this. So we come south. And then eventually what happens, I end up telling my sister, hey sis, I love you, but I'm going to see you when I see you, because I'm going south, I'm not coming north. So my brother-in-law tells me, said, Tony, I don't think you want to do that. Down south, they like excuse me, I don't want to embarrass anybody, you're like, you treat y'all like redhead step kids down in the south metro area. You know what I mean? I'm so weak, guy. Well, I'm going south anyway. It's easier for me to go from the south to the north to get to Fort McPherson. All right, economically, the house that I bought and built is at least $40,000 less than it was in North Fulton County. The school system, I'm in, right? So what it amounts to, another brief story, that's how I got here in 2004. So what I want to tell you, I'm here to say, and I'm telling you that we have, I mentioned earlier, this is a jewel. Henry County is a jewel, Stockbridge is a jewel. And I'm going to do all I can, along with in this position, along with the rest of the council and the staff, and with you citizens out here, to do what we can to bring this economic development this way. So I can at least, I like my brother-in-law, but I at least tell him, say, see that dude? We got it going on down here. You're in the wrong place. I'm in the right place. You see what I mean? So I just got to have one up on this guy. Anyway, so what it amounts to is that we have a lot of potential. You all see it, we're going to build on it, and nothing's going to stop us unless we stop ourselves. We have no intention on doing that. We need to continue to grow, and growth is coming, and we need to take advantage of all these opportunities that are out here. And I tell you what, you can't beat it right now. Yes, no city property tax right now. You know, if it changes, that'll be the citizens deciding that change. Right. Not me, it'll be the citizens deciding that change. If it changes, we've got a lot of things going on. And in this case, I think most people probably know this what she realized in Stockbridge is the ancestral home to the King family, right? Did you know that? If you didn't know that, you know it now. Dr. Martin Luther King, or Daddy King, let's say Daddy King, was born and raised right here in Stockbridge. Gave his first sermon at the Floyd Chapel Baptist Church, which is about a quarter, let's say half a mile from here, in this location. And of course, he eventually left and went to Atlanta, and that's when we think about the King family civil rights that we talk about. We think more or less about Atlanta, Georgia, which is fun. Love Atlanta. I mean, we're in Atlanta, Georgia, but it all started here in Stockbridge. So that's one of the things we're going to capitalize on as well, the King family legacy, and the fact that their family has started here. If you ever go to City Hall, which of course City Hall is a public building, open to the public at all times, regular hours, of course, but on outside our chambers, we have a great big plaque identifying this as ancestral home to the King family, so you can come up anytime and look at that and read the actual proclamations that are there in this aspect. And we're obviously going to emphasize that as well during our centennial next year. Because I'll tell you right now, centennial next year is going to be off the chain. All right? We're going to have a great time. And we're going to show you all what is good going out here in Stockbridge, entertainment-wise, as well as development-wise, economic-wise. We've got a couple hotels already, 2 hotels that are going up right now. And construction is going up right now. Got a lot of things happening. Trail Network, Cultural Arts Center in future years coming out. So a lot of things going on. I think James said earlier, we're going to be in the news quite a bit for good, positive things. You'll see. It'll be on local news, it'll be on the newspaper, all positive things. Mark my words. Okay? All right.
I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Definitely tell Mayor for love. So we want to take the time for anyone to ask our panelists any questions. If you would get to the mic, please.
I have a question about the scenario. You mentioned something, Yvonne, right? Correct?
That's right.
That really, I had heard it an hour ago, and I was like, it's 120 days for a business is a long time. But you're sitting next to a guy who makes money. So how does that work? Is it a situation where you get the contract, Sylvester, do you look at that contract, say, help me get funding? How do we make that work for a business owner?
I was hoping I would get this question actually, because Coca-Cola, we understand that it's very difficult for a small business to maintain operations for 120 days with no invoice paid. So we offer supply chain financing. You'll be able to get your money within 30 days. There is a small percentage fee you have to pay to that bank. Well, there's 2 banks that we work with, and we can certainly provide more information on how to do that. But we took that into consideration with the powers that be, made the decision to go to 120 payment terms. So there is supply chain financing for you to get your money quickly. And in most cases, more quickly than what we used to be able to give to you before the 120-day change.
Good question. When you get up there, you guys can tell us your name.
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Terrell Dinkins. I have a question regarding the land behind Chick-fil-A. I guess the mayor or James, if even you could address what's going on with that land, and will we see anything happening soon with it? Thank you.
I mean,
Chick-fil-A.
it's up to you. Yeah, you know what it is?
Chick-fil-A, Eagles
Right,
Lane.
right. There's a hotel.
Yeah,
It's a hotel.
That's through by Hilton.
There's a hotel going up.
Yeah, through by Hilton will be going up right there.
So finally, we're already close.
Yeah, there's a hotel going
Yeah,
up.
and we're working a lot harder. I'm going to get a full service
Well,
hotel.
hold on.
We switch it on?
Switch it up.
Okay. That's coming. And then we got another hotel on 138, right off of not too far from Sierra Road, 138. That was the first one that completed this structure up, and we'll probably do some type of ribbon cutting now, 4 or 5 months, 4 months, maybe now, whatever we're done. But that's what's going on there. That's why we're growing. That's what I'm saying. We're growing. Things are happening. All right, and there are a couple of subdivisions actually that are offshore building as well. A couple of subdivisions coming online. There's a different amount of homes coming online as well. Whereas that we can handle the new folks coming into the area. But we're growing. Okay.
So, is there a Whole Foods or a Fresh Market? I'm sorry, I don't
30 days?
We're at the hotel.
One of the hardest things, right, is to tell folks, I live in smart communities, and when we are going to get Whole Foods or Trader Joe's, and they just look at it in simple demographics, what's the age population at, and smart economic development out there has changed. Now they're adding young professionals. Who's likely to go to Whole Foods? Wealthier young professionals. Wealthier single young professionals go to Whole Foods. So I think we can continue to add population. We can continue to add wealth. Our income record is 59,000 for the median income. You're going to see more. Yes, we will be getting one. Hopefully, believe me, the things I'm working for, I think with these new mixed-use developments, it's really going to give us a lot more to work with. People don't want to drive all the way, have to drive all the way down to town and maybe get to New York. They don't want to go into the city. So, sorry. I'm hoping to get here guys. Whole Foods, Starbucks, Topgolf, things like that is what I'm looking for all the time. I promise you. So, simple as not 30 days.
Miss Landry, Dr. Landry, I just want to let Sonia, if she doesn't mind, say a few words on that. I know we mentioned, when I brought her to Stockbridge, just looking at where we could do some investment, and when we talked about the grocery store aspect, she mentioned a line that she thought would be great here in Perry County, Stockbridge.
Yeah, what I have to remember as I'm sitting here is a lot of times the things that we want, we don't realize that they can sometimes come along with other displacement. So, but I'm being sensitive to the city of Stockbridge, who have really good demographics of ownership and per capita. Because when you're recruiting or you want a Starbucks or a Whole Foods or someone like that to come into your community, they're looking at your per capita. How much money is there? And if you're trying to keep affordable situations, then that becomes a problem. And so a lot of times, by the time the person gets a Whole Foods in their area, they're no longer there to enjoy it because they can't afford to live there. And so that's the sensitive piece of what we want versus what does that come with. So even, with Ariel, when I was here visiting before, there's a brand out of Germany. Somebody say the name?
Aldi.
Not Aldi.
It begins with L.
Yeah, Little. So they have started building them in Virginia and places like that, where they are organic and they're great quality, but yet they're not, they don't come with the higher prices, because a lot of times the reason that Whole Foods and the places have to have such high prices because of the real estate that they rent. And so this particular store, one of the things they look for is places where they can get real estate reasonable, because it's really, then it keeps the prices reasonable to be able to do that. And it's the same things that we purchase in other places. So yeah, that was one that, but yeah, so those are the things that, a little sensitive to around real estate development and progress.
Can I follow up? Can I?
Right, yeah.
So we've actually, I've been working with Leo. They opened up
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Snellville and Outer Springs. Highly recommend checking it out. Think Trader Joe's meets Aldi. It's got really good prices, it's got unique food, it's really good. So, but yes, what Sonia said, a lot of these communities don't realize. I've worked with 134 around the region. It's a balance. Because if they do a success, you will price yourself out. That's a lot of the hard times. How do we grow and still keep the community we have by bringing in a whole new community to move near Star? Well, it's not just rubber. It's a really hard balancing act.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden, people say, "Oh, we want this. We don't want you to tear this down. We want to keep this. We want to keep this." So it's always fun when you're trying to talk to people saying, "What does he really want?" But here's the indication that it's going to happen when that does happen. So,
Yeah.
Thank you. Your name?
My name is Chichi Afia. I am the founder of Walking Her Shoes, a small business consulting firm. businesses are, the limited funding, creating value propositions that we can sell out, and then balancing responsibilities. However, Sonia mentioned that there's funding available within your organization. Now, what criteria are you looking at for women-owned businesses? Because I consult for women-owned businesses.
Very good question. And for some reason, Walk in Your Shoes, is that the name of your business?
Walk in your shoes. So we're ladies in business working in your shoes.
Okay. I like that. I wrote that down. So recently, over the last year, I took my my passion for women businesses, and I am the co-founder of a place that's called Bio. And Bio stands for Beauty Inside Out, Business, Innovation, and Opportunity. So it's a new facility, we're about 4 months old, that's located in John Wesley Dobbs, but the website is bookbio.com. So through that, what I was looking at was there was such a disenfranchisement of women, particularly women of color, being business owners and consumers in the beauty industry, but not owning any of the beauty industry. And so the reason that we started that is for businesses in beauty, glam, style, and wellness to be able to have a place to build their business. And so in that, we have on our website where you can fill out this kind of vision so we understand your vision for your business. We meet with you to see what it is your business needs to grow, and then we look at funding where, I've worked with Sylvester in certain cases, especially he's been on my radio show around financing and franchising and getting money. And so we have a number of places that fit the need, and then sometimes we'll just make the investment in the business because it's something that we believe in and want to see and help growth. And so it's all depending on the different things, yeah. But I would love to get to know more about your business as well as the businesses that you serve for women.
Yes, we also work in the goal, just like I said, it starts from somewhere.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about it.
Okay, yeah, I have the table there. Did you want to add, Yvonne? Oh, it's book, B-O-O-K, bio.com. Beauty Inside Out, Business, Innovation, Opportunity.
And you probably know Coca-Cola, we don't own money, so that's why being involved in those organizations that I mentioned earlier would be beneficial for you as one of the businesses. You can not only become certified, but you can learn more about those lending programs that are available with a number of other organizations that are affiliated with the Greater Women's Business Council or the Georgia Minority Society Women's Council.
Let me just add one thing.
And just to add on, Chi-Chi, again, we are having a funding pitch August 28th, so please make sure you have your clients sign up. Thank you.
I just wanted to add, as far as from a debt perspective, that what we've got is a lot of little smaller loans from, I think, from $10,000 to about $40,000 that run pretty good. It's only just going to be based off their personal credit, and it's going to run rates. We're going to run anywhere from 10 to 12%, but you can go 3, 5, or 7 years, and you don't need any collateral for that particular product, but you do need pretty good credit. And we can sit down. We've got some credit people that can get their scores up to the 675, 680, probably in about 2 or 3 weeks if they're not too far off from there. So so that's one of our good programs.
Not too far off.
And then also, as we talked about earlier, if you're already in business and have revenue, then you give us a lot to work with at that point.
Thank you. And after the red jacket, that'll be the last question.
She popped up. No. Don't count me out.
And you can say your name and your question, please. We'll limit it to one question per person.
how can I get these businesses involved and invested in Stockbridge?
Call me.
You said call me?
Call me, let's talk. I thought, no, I'm being facetious, sorry. Can you hear me? I'm just
It's the comment.
I was saying, call me, that's how I want to do the one we're looking at New York downtown. If you ever look at Ignite HQ or what Sugar Beans in there, Sugar Villages did, with their East, they got small business incubators. We definitely think these small business incubators here, we're so close to stuff like this, we're so close to
Incubator.
we've got so many other resources, just getting people. The time it takes to get them around the table, giving the access to opportunity, come sit and say, how do we grow our business? How do we need their help? How do we need to really get this thing bigger than we wanted to? So look at those incubators, that's something I really want to start doing.
That'd be good.
I'll give you my contact.
Awesome.
And just to follow up with that, I served on one of the committees that was putting together a business incubator. One of the things that the feasibility study identified is we did not have a true small business network, which is why Henry County Women in Business exists. So contact me as well.
Awesome. Awesome.
Good evening.
Good
My name
evening.
is Trillian Cason. I am a woman-owned, veteran-owned small business. Let's give it up for my Marine Corps partner over there. Or both Marine Corps. I wanted to ask for the city of Stockbridge, just Mr. James, as a federal contractor, does the city of Stockbridge have a local bidder preference for people coming in who are contractors who want to do business with the city of Stockbridge? Is there some sort of preference for living in Stockbridge, or what's the process for that?
Well, and that's our chief purchasing. I call it chief purchasing. Dell, she's been working kind of revise. I know that she's bringing a lot of changes to bring out the changes to mayor and council, and that she recognizes. So I believe that's part of the recommendation. How do we be more local as a mayor mentioned? That we are doing a diversity program to be able to attract more and be more diverse in our contracts and program. So Linda's really the expert in that. It's when I was scared to get an answer that I could, but I really believe that she's working that background.
Thank you
So
so
I don't
much.
know if you can answer, but you contact her on the website. She's our chief. What's her official title? Chief Purchasing Officer. I would not go wrong. She's so good. She'll get back to you. She's really changing our whole system. How we make it secure.
Thank you.
Very
Just to follow up, we did ask the procurement officer via the city manager to come talk to Henry County Women in Business. They said they're going to roll out a series of things with the community, so look for that as well.
Good evening. My name is Lauren Michelle, and I have a practice called the Tony Wellness Centers. I haven't done it, but I was invited to come here because we were going for the Henry County Women in Business, which includes me. But while sitting here, I thought about what you said, Mr. You said about you going to Woodstock. I moved here from California, and when I first moved here, I moved to Canton. So that was like culture shock.
From California to Canada.
But I love the area because I love the homes and the family feel.
They've got like good old housing
Oh, yeah.
My son played football
compared to other
here, and he
cities.
Cities, yeah.
to play USC, and it was a phenomenal time there. Okay, but while I was there, Woodstock, which is kind of my Stockbridge to McDonough because I live in McDonough. As you said, Woodstock got progressive. It started making some changes. It welcomed some things that Canton would not welcome. Okay, so seeing I live in McDonough and I don't live in Stockbridge, I want McDonough to welcome the things that Stockbridge is doing. So I was wondering, since we are in Henry County,
to come hang out with us. Still gonna count it.
Yes, I'd love to see that. You know, I said this begun to me. I've had the most opportunity to be the city and people would flock to the square on the schedule. You had your like official son. I was in a meeting with them one time. I said, well, you guys didn't really step up. Oh, well, we're progressive. And you done. I just said, oh, okay. That's fine. We all find progress. But I think, sorry. You know what I think as a whole we need is where it comes down to you guys. Citizens coming out of these meetings, saying, hey, we need multi-family, we need some density. We don't have density, we don't have a crowd. You're not going to see that square. Woodstock, to give a good example for there was a single family called Headwood Development, big piece of property right on the downtown with the single family homes. Woodstock came and said, we're willing to rezone this, put a block of density, we'll put all properties that we'll buy, put multi-family apartments. And Woodstock said, well, we don't have to build a trail system, we'll use density. There were residents who came out there screaming, we don't want apartments in downtown, it's going to bring traffic. Now you go to all those same residents who are retiring from Cherokee County, who leave downtown Woodstock, they walk to the bar, it's right across $1 million. So I say that all to say, there's still I'm learning an aversion to the word multi-family or transit. And so until we can educate more folks, again, it's the same way when I went to advocating around the region. I would say our elected officials, like the mayor, you see the same people in the crowd every meeting. Folks don't show up and say, hey, I really want you to do this, thanks so much for this guy. You just get the folks saying who you want to get out, get involved, getting active, they're like officials, county commissioners, city council meetings. That's what's going to be a problem this time there. If they don't hear from you, then all they need is hear from the folks who say, no, you get to think that maybe they don't took a peaceful vote. That's my focus. Mayor, you want to?
You're fine, sir. You got it.
All right, thank you. So we want to thank the panelists. Raise your hand if you believe anything from this panel. Awesome. Tell your friends. This is the first to bring this panel of this quality to the south of I-20. And we have to want to make sure that we welcome them and bring them back. And we got to show up. So a lot of the women we meet monthly for our breakfast mixer. If you've attended our breakfast mixer or have hosted it, please stand. Yes, thank you. Thank you. So, Mayor Ford, you have a few words?
Yes, I do. Once again, without doubt, thank you, Council, for being son, Booker,
Thank you.
Sylvester Ford.
Thank you.
And you didn't realize it's my cousin. Kind of joking, but Yvonne Austin.
Thank you.
Of course, Jamie Tunstall. Okay, I really appreciate the meeting, for this. And thank you, Ariel, for a partnership with me in reference to women in business and keeping this along for the first time. So look forward to doing this again next year. And being in catering, coming back here, as you know, there's that other thing to catering. And also we have that event bringing center. We're back here as well. And all the many vendors that are around here, thank you for being vendors. We're appreciating you being here as well. And on that note, I will say, hopefully every time, you learn something. We got a few minutes to probably will talk to us.
Wow. Now that was powerful. You can thank me later. But the information that was shared in that podcast, I think that's gonna be one of our most popular podcasts because it was full of information that you needed, and we were glad to bring that to you. So they're going to be doing this again next year and make it bigger and better. and we're going to host the audio for that again. Maybe next time we'll have some video where we can have the video as a part of this as well. So share this episode. Share this with as many people as possible. You're listening to this, share it, and just let them know, hey, this is an economic development summit, and it's some information in here that you need to know. If you're an entrepreneur, aspiring entrepreneur, you're on a job, you're an executive, whomever, you're in marketing, you need to listen to this podcast. And I thank you for listening to this podcast. Share it with your friends. Tell people about Geek Speak. Come back. Leave a message. Rate us. Rate our podcast. Let us know how we're doing. Because without you, without the listeners, we won't be here. I won't be here. And I always want to thank you for tuning in.